Good Saturday afternoon and or evening, depending on where you guys are tuning in from. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with Hobo for another Hanging with Hobo live. It is December what? The 14th? Yep, 14th. So we got 10 days to Christmas Eve. I ain't even looked at what the schedule for Hobo is going to be like for this month. Let me pull a calendar up here. So the 21st, that won't be a problem. That's next Saturday. And then the Saturday after that'll be after Thanksgiving. So, or the Thanksgiving, after Christmas. So the Christmas holiday should not affect, affect the Hanging with Live Hobo schedule. Hanging with Hobo live schedule. We'll get that there. I'm off today. I'm live for the third Saturday at 3 p.m. because I screwed up last weekend, and Chris was the first one to point that out to me because he was expecting it to be at 9. He had planned his entire day and said, "No, I'm kidding." He was expecting 9 o'clock, and it didn't. We were at 3, and he missed it. That's why he wasn't in the stream with you guys. But I just screwed the pooch last week, and to keep the lack of conflict with another channel, I decided to go live again this week at 3. And we'll get back on schedule. Next week it'll be 9. So hopefully it's not been terribly inconvenient for anybody. The numbers we're early on. We'll probably double our viewers here before too long. But before I jump in this week, I just want to what I share with you guys from week to week are based on my experiences. My experiences working with Lightburn, with my Roly, the Kiosk even, and my experiences in my shop are my reality. I'm not going to share any mistruths with you. I'm not going to tell you any fibs or try to lead you astray. If I share with you my experience, it has worked for me, and it was in fact my reality. But that doesn't mean my reality is your reality. And there are different realities. Everybody's experiences are different with lasering, with different types of product, different life experiences, different atmospheres, different altitudes will affect your lasering experience. So if I share something with you and it doesn't quite work for you, doesn't mean that I was telling you an untruth or intentionally, because there are some creators out there who will share with you just enough of their reality, but they'll leave something out intentionally or maybe unintentionally, but they'll leave something out so that you can't replicate what they're doing. Or they'll show you a project and a few of the steps, but they don't show you all of it. And I refrain from doing that. I'm going to share you 100% of my experience with developing projects, and hopefully you can recreate those, or you will have enough knowledge to know how to replicate it if it doesn't come out the way it came out for me. So I will never tell you a mistruth or mislead you, but just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because there's so many factors that are involved. And as far as talking about different realities, my reality is not your reality. I was watching one of the videos with, I don't know if it was Steve and Clack or if it was just Clack, but I was watching one of the streams, and Clack had commented that, he woke up or got up and there was ice on the ground, and had told Steve Venturi about, hey, woke up with ice on the ground. It's cold. Well, it was, by Steve's definition, it was frost and not ice. And then there was a whole debate about whether frost was ice, and it's frozen precipitation. It's ice. So he didn't make a statement about saying, hey, he had ice on the ground, but that's not what Steve related to as being ice on the ground. And I got a photograph shared with me with one of my family members they're in the lower peninsula. They're in the mitten of Michigan, but they're on the northeastern corner of the lower part of Michigan, right there at Lake Michigan and just before you get to Lake Superior. And she shared this picture. She said they just did dig out a path to get from their front door out to the driveway. And this was just 2 or 3 days ago. Wasn't long ago. And if a little frost was alarming for Clack, imagine his response or his reaction if he woke up to this here. But there they are. They've dug a path out, and that is redonkulous. I like a little bit of snow, but I do not want to live anywhere that's going to produce that kind of snow result in just a matter of a couple of days. No, thank you. So that's kind of maybe more along the lines of what Steve was saying about, oh yeah, you got a little bit of ice. Well, that's frost, is not ice. So, but Clack wasn't wrong. He didn't make a misstatement. That was his reality. He woke up with a little ice on the ground, a little frost, and it's cold. And I love seeing some of the people commenting from all the different viewers here in the stream about, yeah, I woke up and it was cold. It was, 45 or 50 degrees. That's temperatures for throwing the windows up at night and sleeping with the windows open. For me, that ain't cold. That's comfortable sleeping weather. So back to lasering. When I share with you what I've done and what I've accomplished and how I did it, it's the truth and it is a fact, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And anytime, and I purposely do not, when it comes to wood, now with the crystal, I will share, but when it comes to doing woodwork and engraving, I hate to tell you, well, these were my speed and power settings, because there are so many other factors that come into play that those speed and power settings are not guaranteed to work for you at all. And if you there was a case this week where one of my supporters had one piece of material that they needed some settings for, and because there was a special glued up exotic wood, and one attempt at doing this. I'm like, well, I can share with you what's worked for me, but it's not going to mean it's going to work for you. You need to test. If you've got a 14 by 14 piece of material, you're not going to use that whole piece. Find a piece. You've got your image laid out in your work area. You know where the waste material is going to be. Start doing some testing on that and use that to help determine your power and speed settings. I'm happy to share with you what I did when I'm asked, but I'd make it a point to say, not to go, okay, well, these are my speed and power settings for this project, because they may change for me from one project to the next, depending on the wood, how long it's been in my shop, how long is it acclimated to my atmosphere, the humidity in here versus something I just went and brought into the shop. Lots of factors to think about. But I had a request for I brought it in here. For a custom engraved nameplate. I got the Hobo with wooden one there. That one was a first attempt, and it didn't do so great for me, but I kind of put those on the back burner for a few weeks. But I had a request for a nameplate for a Christmas present, and this is a Christmas present, and I'm not really worried too much about sharing this with you here because I don't think they're going to see it. This is not something they're going to be inclined to tune in and watch. But I'd used a different technique this time than I've ever used before. And man, did it turn out nice. And I thought it might be a little bit more difficult than it turned out to be. But as Bob Ross used to say, happy little accident. In the process that I was using to do this piece, I had a happy little accident that turned out to be just a huge time saver. And I figured out a way to replicate that happy little accident and do it on purpose. And I'm going to share all that with you too. But I also been making these little shadow boxes, and they're cute, they're fun, and an easy way to create some artwork and little desk art or artwork for the home, office, bathrooms, whatever. And I'll touch base with you a little bit about that and show you the the product itself. We can make all these things, but sometimes it's cheaper not to make them. Don't waste our time making the boxes. You buy the boxes real cheap and then create your artwork to go in those boxes. But without further ado, actually, you know what? Before I jump in there and show you this, just looking to see here if there's any shout outs or hellos that need to be addressed. Glad to see the folks, you guys here. And again, I apologize for the screw up on the schedule, but we're back on track. Comments come. Okay, here's one. Chris, I do plan my day on the lives just as well. I have the option to watch in the laser layer. Well, that's good. And I knew you were. In fact, if you watched the replay, I was looking for you in the stream and you weren't there. And so I was like, oh man. So that should have been a clue to me that I screwed up. And Bill says, I love the t-shirt. So the first shipment of the Hobo Nation t-shirts have already gone out, and a lot of folks have already been receiving them. And a few of them have commented that, man, you weren't lying. These things are soft as butter. The t-shirts that I use are a premium shirt, and man, they do. They're so comfortable. It's not even funny. And Stacy's agreeing with me. So true. I'm at 4,950 feet in the mountain. She's at 5,000 feet in the mountains. Moisture and heat are for sure an element to contend with. And combustion happens at a different rate at altitude. So the higher you go in altitude, it's going to react different than, say, somebody who's at or below sea level. Chris said, did you see the short Clack posted an hour? No, I didn't see that. I said, no, I didn't see that. I missed that one. I've been busy today. Haven't seen anything on YouTube today. But I did see them, and it was funny. They had a debate going. In fact, they got into almost turned into an episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy about what is ice, and it was quite humorous. I do enjoy watching them. Sharon said she's in mid-Michigan, so that's the kind of winter. So that's the kind of winter is what I grew up with, and it is all winter long. Yeah. No, but sometimes those powers and speeds are a good starting point. Yeah. and that's any library you get. The library that if you get the Laser Rollomatic and you've got Dimitri's library in there, it is an extensive library, but it should still be used as a springboard. Use it, try it, and then start doing some few tests around it, and see what works best for you. That should definitely be a springboard. With one-offs, I tell them the same, and either test, then sand back. Oh yeah. And start fast and low power, then build it up slowly. Yeah. And one-offs are tough, especially if it's a custom piece of wood. All right. Yeah, and thank you, Chicago Bob. Don't forget, like, share, and go gold. That's the Patreon. Let's see here. Patreon. There we go. Show. Go over to patreon.com/hobowithwood and become a gold sponsor. You'll get 100% free downloads of my digital files. I ask that you don't go on there and download all $600 worth of files and cancel your membership after $20, or had one jerk downloaded everything and then disputed his charge and tried to get his $20 back. Don't be a John. Mark says his wife loves her shirt. That's awesome. Did I make a mistake? It was did I not say Steve Venturi? Pretty sure I did. I have not. Dave's asked if I've tried to laser a t-shirt. I have not messed with garments. That mom with the laser, I watched her do her denim jacket, and that was pretty cool. But I have not. Now I will go back in time. We're going to go way back. 1985. 1985. I took a pair of my denim jeans out on the back patio and took a bowl of Clorox bleach and a toothbrush and used a toothbrush to brush a pattern on one leg that was stripes about an inch and a half apart, and the other leg, I bleached the whole leg all the way down, and then flipped it over and bleached the pocket on one side, and then bleached everything but the pocket on the other side, and then left it out in the sun to dry for a while, and then throw it in the wash machine. And that was pretty cool. I had all kinds of patterns on my jeans, but I've not done any denim or any material with a laser. I am trying to stick to, while those would be fun and cool, I'm trying to stick with practical designs and practical pieces, designs that I either can sell on the website, give away on the website. In fact, that's how most of my designs come to be, is from my patrons who ask me, can you help me with this, help me with that? And I will design something for them, send that file to them for free, and then later put it on my website for everyone else to either download for free if they're a gold patron and or buy. Thank you, Moses. Appreciate you one heck of a lot. Always. Not sure. By swirly one, I was talking about the shadow box. Swirly one. Yeah, I missed the comment. Missed it. Sorry. All right. So let's see who's hollering at me here. Nobody important. Nope. All right. Yeah, we'll talk about those just briefly. I've sold out of the I think I might have one left. It might be on there, but I sold out of the crystal heart paperweights. I got more coming. If those are interested and you want to get on the waiting list for those, send me an email at hobowithwood@gmail.com, and I'll try and keep you abreast of those so that you're not just having to look for them when they get here. But those crystal hearts have been selling as quick as the deliveries get here. But these, like I said, we can make a shadow box. We've got a laser and we've got material. We can cut out a simple design. But I like these so much better than anything that I can make. And I can buy these cheaper than I can make them. So why would you bother making them? And here, these are mitered corners, so they don't have the fingers and slots around everywhere you look. They come with a hanging string on them and the hardware already in place, so you don't have to do any of that. So all you've got to do is design your piece to go in here, and you're good to go. And I've got these in my shop supplies on the website. And let's see here. Go here, go here, and switch. On the Hobo with Wood, if you go to shop supplies, you got the digital files, laser blanks, and the laser blanks are not showing up everything. I've only got 4 of the olive wood left, but for whatever reason, my crystal, even though it's in there, I've got a setting wrong. The crystal's not showing up. But in shop supplies, these are all the things that I go to and use regularly in Amazon. and I was getting enough requests that I went ahead and put this out there. That's the 5x5-inch shadow boxes that I just showed you. And if we go look at those, they're cheap, dirt cheap. 80, what was it? Yeah, 89 cents a piece, less than $1 a piece for 24 pack. Less than $1 a piece, 89 cents. Yeah, that's and if you're at Amazon Prime, you get them delivered for free. And this one I did. This is the one I showed you the other day when I started doing the spirograph looking, or the vortex looking. But that one is multi-layer, and you can see how deep it is there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 or 5 layers in this one. But you can get that out of just maybe $1.50 worth of material. So you end up having close to $2 and something like that. And if you're doing craft shows, you can sell those for $10 a piece, easy, if not $14.95. And I was just playing and this one I like the design, but I didn't like how far and recessed it was. It's like, okay, I needed to create more depth with it. And I did that with this piece. And it's still only using 3 layers of material. I've got the very, and no, 3 layers or not? Yeah. I engraved that and cut it out and glued it inside the box. I could have just engraved it in the lid, but I haven't tested this lid yet. So I don't, and it's basswood or something. So it would have a different result. And I already had the settings for my Baltic birch. So I just cut out the Baltic birch and glued it in there. But then you can notice there we go. The outer perimeters are raised up off of there. And I did that. If I can get it twisted just right. And it doesn't show up with the lighting very well. There you go. You can see those little bitty corner spacers in there. Those are the cutouts from this white layer. I just stacked them up and put them in the corners and then glued the other layers on top of it to create some more depth. And I like how that turned out. But I got less than $2 in each one of those and easily sell them in a craft show for anywhere from $10 to $15, depending on what the market will bear. There we go. Dave says he got some olive wood, just beautiful. Dave got the olive wood charcuterie, or the mini cutting boards. They are gorgeous. In fact, I think I sent you one freebie for testing because it was cracked, and I was like, this ain't no good to me, and it'd be a great opportunity for testing. I think that was your order I sent out. All right, so that's in the shop supplies for the 5x5 shadow boxes, and a great way to make some small, simple trinkets and different. And what I like to do is when you got time to kill and you're going past Hobby Lobby, go in Hobby Lobby and look at all the signs that they're selling. They sell this kind of crap all day long, and it's. I don't want those hanging in my house. I don't need them in the shop, but I can sell them. Go into Hobby Lobby and and if you don't even have to go there, go to their website, go to Hobby Lobby's website and just look at all the signs that they have. And you can just use those sayings and recreate your own graphics and make you some little 5-inch shadow boxes, nothing in them, and make some easy money. You have to sell a lot of them to make good money, but the gross profit return, is huge, comparatively speaking. Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you very, very much. Greatly appreciated. All right, now let's talk about these inlays and what I did new this time. Like I said, I've done inlays and I love doing inlays. Inlays can be challenging. And this is actually a really good comparison. I knew and I understood kerf when I did this piece. But even knowing it, I had not worked with these two different materials. And even though you know what your kerf is for your laser, assuming you know what your kerf is for your laser, depending on the thickness of your material and the material type, your actual kerf is going to vary from material to material and thickness, from one thickness to the next. I have told you before that your laser beam does not come out of your laser in a straight column. It is collimated. They take 4 or 5 or 6 2 and 2.5 watt lasers, diodes, and then collimate them so that they come out into a kind of a fixed point. But it's not round, it's not square, it's ovaloid. And as it comes down and out your laser, it comes down at an angle, and that's why you focus your laser. You focus your laser depending on the thickness of your material in relation to the height of your laser module, because there's one point where your laser is going to come to its optimum cutting power or your optimum spot size. But once it comes together like that, on the other end, it starts going back out again. It creates an hourglass shape if you were able to actually see the laser column. And you cannot see that with your naked eye, but you can see it if you cut your material out. And what was it that I cut out? It was, it wasn't with that. It was, put them upside down. I've got these maple plaques. They're 5x7 maple plaques, just rectangular maple. And I created a plaque, a memorial plaque, and I didn't want to just use it in a 5x7. So I used one of my frames, one of them that had, was a custom shape, and cut it out of this. And this is about 10 mil thick. And even though I had my laser focused really low to cut through 10 mil material, when I went to lift it off the bed, because the way the laser beam is conical shaped, as it went through the material, it got wider and wider as it came out. So it did not want to push through, but I could lift it out. And that's because of the way, the number of passes that it had to take to get through the material, and the fact that the beam was getting wider and wider and wider. And if you don't believe what I'm telling you is the truth, grab you some 1/4 inch or thicker material and focus it to where you're kind of maybe about the midpoint of the material, and cut it out. Cut out a circle or cut out a rectangle. And when you do, you'll notice you do not have a 90-degree cut on the side. It's going to have an angle to it. Why am I talking about all this? Because that is going to affect your inlays, because you don't have a 90-degree side on the side of your pocket or on your inlay. So you need to know what your kerf is, and you need, if you're going to get if you want a really tight fit, then you also need to do some testing with the materials and see how those materials are going to react with your laser, and see what the kerf is going to be on that material with your laser. And as I started to show you here, this one I did several weeks ago, months ago, and I did it. And in light burn, it was plenty thick enough, but because of the material and the way that it cut out in the kerf, there are some places that the maple, which is the lighter color wood, the maple was almost completely cut away. I'm going to try and focus in on here. It got really super thin, and you can see all of the gap, and you can see the kerf. You can see where it's not a tight fit. And the thinner the material is, the more exposed that gap got, because it just didn't fit well. So I learned a little bit there, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to try and these were cut. This one, I burned a pocket in the walnut and just did a feel of this and engraved the pocket and did about 2 mil deep, a little 2.5 mil deep. Then I did, I had about 3 mil maple, and I just cut it out. And then I took and glued those in. Well, given how thin those are in places, they were fragile. They were not fun. So I was like, okay, I don't want to do that again. So with this request, I went back to Arial Black, really big, heavy, bold font, because as you can see there, it's out of focus. But even if I focus it real, a little better, that's a little tough to read, especially if I didn't have my specs on. I wouldn't be able to see it. So I went back with Arial Black and did that. And now that is much easier to see, much easier to read. And I want you to look. I'm going to do a real close up. And you've seen how you can see the gap between the letters. Check out how tight I got these. Those are a super, super tight fit. It's the same material. That's maple and walnut. And you don't see any gap, it's tight. It looks sharp. And I used a different process with this that helped me overcome all of those issues. And let's look at some. I see some comments in here. It's hobo time. When using an inlay, I will use 0.5 or 0.6 veneer of my inlays. Yeah, and that was another what is the word I'm looking for? Someone wanted to debate with me that what I'm doing is not an inlay because I'm not using what Steven said. Steven's using, and I'm guessing that's 0.5 mil veneers. He's using veneers, very, very thin veneers for his inlays. And by woodworking definition, with folks going back probably before there was lasers, all of your inlays were with really, really thin veneers. Not all, but most. But I'm creating a pocket, and then I'm cutting out a piece that will fit in there, and I'm inlaying it in there. I'm just not using a thin veneer. It's thin, relatively speaking, compared to the desk plate, but I'm using 3 mil material, so I can do a whole lot more with it when it comes to pressing in. And I'm going to show you photos of my pieces, but they're still technically inlays, but a true woodworking craftsman who's doing inlays before they were lasers or CNC lasers, and they were doing stuff all by hand, or they were using veneers for all their stuff. And do I use a line after fill on the words? No, not for the inlays. And I'm going to show you all that now. So in fact, let's just jump over here and I'll open up my file, open, not that one. I need to go, or is that it? Yeah, name tag. Yeah, that's it. No, did I mess up something? Boy, I hope I didn't mess up something. I don't want that one. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Dummy. File, new. Open. Come on. Desk nameplates. There we go. No. Okay. So I've got a jig that I use for putting my nameplates. I actually have my wedges that sitting this piece here. So I've got this right here is my toolpath that I'll use. And that's not centered. I need to center that and save it again. There we go. So there's my toolpath area that I'm going to put my name in. And I've got this so it snaps into my placement. This is where my rotary would snap into my XW. I'll put that in and engrave it here. So I've got a fixed position for if I was doing, 20 nameplates. I don't have to worry about placement. I just drop one in and do it, and easy peasy done. Let's see here. Chris says I use up to 10 mil on the inlays on the CNC. Yeah. And the technique I'm getting ready to do is kind of stolen from what I watched some of the CNC users, CNC routers you guys use. I was taught that the inlay words should be cut from the back to help you get a tight fit. Well, and there is always another way. And like I said, this is my first attempt doing it this way, and I got such an excellent result. And I think it worked out so well because of I spent all that time explaining the conical shape of the laser and what it does, and why it does what it does. And I think that's why I got such a result that got the excellent result that I've got. And we'll get there. Let's see here. Okay. So anyway, I set up my name, and I've got all that jig set up, and I know exactly where everything's going to lay out, and I know how it's going to be placed in, and I just hit the machine, hit start button, send it to the laser, and I engrave a deep pocket. And I will typically, while I don't do a line after fill when I'm cutting out the letters, when I'm doing the pocket engrave for the desk plate or whatever it is I'm going to be putting the pocket, for the material to be received into the pocket, I typically do a crosshatch and then a line after fill on that to clean up the edges really nice and neat. And then I'll measure that depth and see how deep that pocket is. And then I will repeat that process once or twice, how many times necessary, to get the pocket to the depth that I want it to be. And if I'm going to be inlaying, in this case, it was about 3 millimeter maple, then I want my pocket to be about 2.5 millimeters deep. I want to have my maple proud once it's pressed into that pocket. But before, what I was doing is once I engraved my pocket, then I would just cut out the laser, cut out the letters that were going to be put into the pocket, and then press them in. And then I'm having to press in each individual letter. And then if it was an I with a little dot over it, then you got to get that little dot and hold on to that. And then I was like, that's tedious. And also, like on the letter I, if the letter I is not a perfect spherical shape, if it's got a little bit of an elongation to it because of the font you used, trying to get that twisted and aligned just properly, that sometimes is beyond tedious. It's just flat out impossible. So instead of cutting out the pieces, this time I did a reverse, like I said, like a CNC router would have done. I used the laser to burn away all of the material except for the letters. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I put in here, Hobo with wood, and then I create that, and I'm going to make that my pocket. I would center it up over my work area. So that's too big. So now I'll take and select that and just shrink it down to fit into the desired area that I want it to be in. So that was going to be my size. There's my pocket. I did start engraving my pocket. Duplicate that, bring it down here. Now this is going to be the piece. This is going to be the inlay. So because this is going to be the inlay, and because of the way I'm getting ready to do it, I'm going to mirror that, flip it around, and then I'm going to grab me a rectangle and put a rectangle around it and keep it kind of tight. Don't want to be real tight. I want to have some meat around the ends of it. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut that out of the, or not cut it out. I'm going to burn away everything out of what is going to be the letters. And then I will take and duplicate this outermost piece, Control D, duplicate it, and put it on a cut path. So now that'll burn away everything but the letters and then cut the perimeter out. And I'm left with, come on. Well, everything's wanting to open up on the wrong screen. There we go. So there was my pocket. And then this, I burn away all the material minus the letters by creating that reverse image. And then I'm able to flip that over, press it and glue it into place. I clamp it together for about 45 minutes and then take it up, clamps off, and then let it dry for 24 hours. And here is the happy little accident I'm talking about. This was not a plan. Having just those little bit of strands of the wood left holding everything together like a little sheets of ribbon. I didn't plan that. That was the happy little accident. I planned to leave enough of the material on it so I was going to, and my first thought was I was going to glue this together and then take it over to the bandsaw and run it through the bandsaw to separate the two pieces again and then send an even finish to it. But because I inadvertently, unintentionally burn away so much of the face of the material, I didn't have to use the bandsaw. I was able to just take the sander and sand away the excess and got my end result. And once that dried for 24 hours, where are you at? Let's go back. There we go. And the fit, the gap or lack thereof was phenomenal. I was super, super happy with that. The outcome was super fantastic. Expialidocious. It was an awesome finish. And let's go back. So the pocket would have, let's see, it gets wider as it goes down. So the pocket had a little bit of a taper this way. And then because of the way that other one's done, I think because it was mirrored, that wedge shape that gets created because of the way the laser does. Once I was able to press those in, man, it was a super, super nice tight fit. And like I said, that's the best result that I've had with doing an inlay yet. And once I seen how easy that was to go together and sand it up and finish it, I was like, well, how can I intentionally recreate that happy little accident? Well, before I start doing the inlay, reverse inlay engraving, I would simply take and put a little sphere or a circle or a square or something kind of sort of at the corner of the material and where it's going to be engraved. In fact, we'll go over to Lightburn and show you here. So if this is the piece I'm getting ready to send to the laser, then what I might do is, and my material is actually going to be something like that. Then I would take over here on the corner of my material and just put a square over here. And then I would start sending some tests to that square to where I can see the perimeter up here and the perimeter over here on the edge of the physical piece. and see just how deep the laser was penetrating with one double crosshatch, two cross, or how many crosshatches is it going to take to get to the almost completely through it, but not completely through it. And then I will have the number of passes required to get what I hope is going to be the end result I'm going to need. And I won't be doing just guesswork when I go to send the actual job to the laser. But that sure did turn out nice. Let's see here. And I did not mark my spots. Okay, got that. And oh, now Mark says I make custom templates with my laser cut out of 8mm MDF for router inlays. I prefer to use an epoxy fill for laser cut inlays. And I've done some epoxy fill, and I wasn't that happy with the end result because I didn't know what I was doing. But I think I might have it figured out, and I'm curious if you do this. Now, I did one, and partly was because of the epoxy I was using was a little bit translucent. It was blue, but it was kind of a translucent blue, and had a little flake going to it, kind of sparkly. But the translucent part of it allowed you to see the darker underbelly of the pocket, and it didn't give me the result I was looking for. And I said, well, if that's the look I want next time is using that translucent stuff, what I will probably do is create my pocket, paint it white, and then sand it all off and get a nice, white pocket, and then do an epoxy inlay with the white pockets instead of that black, ugly background for that. Or don't use translucent epoxy. That would be the simplest thing. But I liked that look. I like the way that it could have looked. But epoxy inlays are really slick, and I'll probably be doing some more of those. That might be something I might incorporate, because I'm already starting to design some projects for Valentine's Day. So I can see doing some red epoxy fill inlays, red and white, and stay tuned. We'll play with that some in the upcoming. All right, let's see here. Trying to see through all these questions and comments. All right. Now I'll mark my spot so I know where I'm at. And wow. That's close. My eyesight's so bad I can't tell if it's my eyes or if it's the camera, but I think I'm good. So anyway, that's that. And it's important though, when you're going to do your inlays, remember you need to create the mirror of that if you're going to do it, so that you can press it in one solid piece like that. If you're not going to do it that way, then you can just take and cut it out. And if you're cutting out the full solid piece, now these you'd have, in fact, for giggles. And see here, this is what I was talking about. See, that eye is not completely round. It's ovaloid sitting on its side. So if that was an individual piece, and depending on what size in fact, that would be the size up there. So let's, for giggles, we'll put that path. And then what is that? That one's 4 millimeters by about 6 millimeters. So that one you might kind of figure out and get twisted in just right. But when I'm gluing up my inlays, I will get them started, and hopefully your kerf is done right so that it's not just going to push in there. You don't want it to just slip in because it's not going to be that tight of a fit. I will take and clamp them together, and that little bitty piece, if it's not going straight in and you start trying to put pressure on with clamps and pushing it in, well, it's a good chance it might just snap and break instead of sliding into the joint. So by being able to cut that out in that one solid piece, where'd you go? There you are. There were no, yeah, there was right there. That little dot, that would be the perfect piece. That over the J of project, trying to hold on to that little bitty piece, and that one was much smaller. And let's look at the much smaller than 3 or 4 millimeters. That's maybe a millimeter and a half, 2 mil maybe. And it's a nice square, 4-corner square. But by having that still attached to the piece that was lasered out, I didn't have to worry about holding on to it or losing it or getting it. I just laid in. Once I got my H and that's all lined up, started pressing in, just ease it across, pushing it in by fingers, make sure it's all lined up, and then took my clamps and just started clamping it all the way across, and worked out excellent. All right. Okay, so again, like I said, this was my reality. There it is. It worked for me. It worked excellent for me. And so much so that this will probably be the new process that I use. And it's a little bit more laser time creating that reverse piece and then cutting it out. It's a little bit more laser time, but the assembly time and the ease of assembly more than makes up for it. So I think that's going to be the new way that I do it. And if you watch the guys who have the CNC routers, when they do pieces like this, they'll CNC the router out the pocket, and then they leave the raise piece, and they take the two and glue them together just like that. And so this was not anything that was something that no new technique that I created. And there may be people who are doing this with lasers. I just haven't seen it done this way. But I'm going to give it a shot. And the shot was a bullseye. What we got here? Steve says, you're like me. You cannot make silk purse out of pig's ear. My eyes are... You're like me. You cannot make silk purse out of pig's ear, LO, because the camera does not lie. Yeah, I don't quite follow you there, Steve. I'm sorry. Don't follow what you're saying there. Something might be lost in translation. You know, you speak that weird English over there. Okay, guys, we're right at an hour. This is going to be a short one today. Is there any questions, any comments, anything? Anybody got any issues? I did. I keep moving the cameras. Well, that's got my camera doesn't autofocus. Those autofocus ones, and the fact that I can't see, I can't focus. I've got this pair of glasses to read, and then I've got this pair of glasses to see. So if I wanted to see what the focus looked like, I really need to put these on to see if I'm even in focus. But now I can't read what you're saying. I'm getting to the point where I need bifocals, and I've tried bifocals, and I just hate them. I hate them. But if you watch my buddy Patrick, any of his streams, and he's got those fancy autofocus cameras, they want to focus on the eyeballs or the face. So if he's wanting to show you, this piece, then he's got to get up there and hold it and block out his face so to focus on the piece. So the autofocus has, and then it's wanting to focus on different things. They have their own headaches. Get a bigger screen. I've tried using bigger fonts. So, oh, you know what? Before I wrap it up and go, I have helped numerous people this week in between doing the jobs I've got going on here, and happy to do it. Happy to help, patrons or not. I help folks all week long with projects and with ideas. Some of the projects that I get requested to help, like the little digital library, and it's right here. I'm gonna grab it because that thing, I never would have. It would have never been on my radar, not in a million years. But this thing has been so popular, it's not even funny. It's a little digital library. I guess in today's world, you don't see a whole lot of people reading real books, or they don't have room in their house to keep a library shelf full of books. So this is designed so it hangs on a shelf, and this is adjustable so it goes on any shelf size. And then some of the folks make their own little miniature books that they've read and or listened to, and this shelf their books, and they have a digital library. Well, this was a request, and it's been extremely popular. Someone asked me if I could help them design something, and I designed it and sent it to them and said, here you go, Merry Christmas. And then put this on the website, and it's been going crazy on the website. And then what else was it this week? I did two other designs for other folks. If you're in the stream, you can say, hey, you've helped me out with this, but the brain just doesn't recall everything I've done. But then I also have had at least a half a dozen people who have reached out for help. And I honestly don't know if it's people that don't believe that I say I'll help you, and I do it for free. But you can email me with a request, but sometimes things are lost in translation, just like a minute ago where I didn't quite follow what Steve was saying. Things get lost in translation, or I don't comprehend what you're asking for, and it's so much easier to have a conversation. So I can send you a link and we can have dialogue like this. You don't have to be on a computer. You can do it from a smartphone. You don't even have to turn your camera on. I don't have to see you. And if you're, ugly enough, I don't want to see you. It's bad enough you got to look at me. But I would rather have a conversation with you about what your end results what you want them to be. And I've had a half a dozen people this week, and it's been every week for the last several weeks, reach, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I'll send them a link and say, here, click on this, and hours will pass, nothing. Follow-ups will happen with emails like, well, I'm trying this, and I'll connect. Here's the link. You let me know when you're available, and I'm here, I'm working, and I'm glad to help you. And nothing. And I end up wasting, half a day because I do want to help you. But then you kind of string me along, and then you just never show up. Too much more of that, and I will have to rethink that whole idea because I'm offering to give you my time, but my time is valuable, and I don't appreciate just being strung along. Let's see here. Keep moving the camera. Yep. Does anyone else have an issue seeing the shadow boxes on Steve's website? I can reset my. Let's go over here and look and see. Did he go away? In fact, I didn't want to do that, dummy. Let's do this. I will put the link in the description here. The link should be just hobowithwood.com, hobowithwood.com/small shadow box. Yep, and that goes right to Amazon. The link itself works, but let's check the website. Shop supplies, go to the very bottom. All right, so, and that works. So if I go back, so there's the website, and if you click on the link, it's going to redirect you to the Amazon store. So, and it is, maybe if you're not in the US, maybe if you're not using the same Amazon, if you're in the UK or otherwise and you're not using the same, then the Amazon link may not work for you. But it's just a 5x5 unfinished shadow box on Amazon. Hide that. And I was not aware of that. Because I've got a CNC, but I've been waiting on Lightburn to finish up Millmage, but you haven't heard anything about Millmage lately. I don't know if they've thrown in the towel on that or what, but when you do an inlay on a CNC, it's done with a tapered bit. So as you push the inlay in, it gets a tighter joint. And I think because in reality, your laser beam will have a taper on it, especially on the thicker the material you use, you're going to have that taper. And because you're doing the pocket, the taper is going to be this way. And then you're doing the inverse of that. So from the bottom out, the bottom is going to be the narrowest. And as you go down, it gets wider. So it's going to have the same mirrored taper with doing it the way I've demonstrated this. And that might be why this works so good and why the fit is so great. Instead of trying before, when I did the cutout, the tapers didn't mirror each other. I guess they kind of conflicted with each other. And it ended up having more of a gap. I haven't put it under a microscope and haven't looked at it. I can just tell you what real world experience has been for me. Okay. Could you post a link in the shadow? Yeah, post that. Let's see, post in the comments. HTTPS hobowithwood.com/small shadow box. Go back here, making sure pretty sure I did singular. Yeah, single box. Yep. Single small shadow box. Small shadow box. Done. So Scott, I put that down in the bottom of the comments. I wear lenses that transition from one reading to looking rather than okay. Yeah, and I've seen those transitional lenses. That's not what bothered me. The line didn't bother me. It's just you're looking at the top here and you're looking at the bottom. Even the transitional without the line, you still got you learning to where to focus through the glass to look through them. I just didn't like them. Didn't like the way it worked out. Yeah, I don't know what the wow was about, Jack. Wow. And then the LOL. So I did something that was funny or stupid one. Oh, maybe it was a comment about I didn't need to see you. Because Bob says, yeah, I got a face for radio. I hear you, buddy. The link takes me to Amazon US. Yeah, and that's of course I'm in the US, so that's all I've got. Yeah, Millmage is still in beta testing. Yeah, I've got a version. I don't know which version I've got, but they were so sure of its being ready for release that was what the whole pretense of the first Lightburn Expo was about was, Milmage. Go up there and see, and they had all kinds of product there that they had produced with Milmage. So they had a working version, and they do have a working, but I guess it's just got too many issues that they just don't even want to send it out yet. Apply path to text, or my text is always inverted. Any thoughts on what might help? Okay. And this is an example of why I like to have a conversation with trying to help when I'm trying to help somebody. My text is always inverted. Now, only because I've ran into this myself. It's like, okay, if you've got a line, and let's see if I can replicate this. But back to the confusion there. The text is always inverted. Inverted, it could imply that it's no longer reading from right to left. It's reading from left, or from left to right. It's reading from right to left. Or is it mirrored instead of inverted? Or, but let's look here at Lightburn real fast. Lightburn file. Let me get everything cleaned up. New. No, I don't want to save nothing. All right. So this is text. And if I've got a line, and I want to apply that text to that line. So I right click that text, hold shift and select that path, right click and apply path to text. And there it's not inverted. But I have seen it where it will come out and have an issue to where it's mirrored or flipped, or it will go over here to this end or to that end. And so there, I've seen issues, but you've seen I just did that and I did it without issue. So sometimes it's also about the order in which you select things. So in order to help you more with what your problem is, it would be easier if we were connected online and you could you could walk me through your steps to recreate the problem you're having, so I could eliminate whatever your issue is. But right now I'm grasping at straws on what is going on or why it did what it did. I would like to see more on metal back tape inlays. I would like more on metal back. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about there, Jim. Metal back tape inlays. I'm lost on that. So Dave, I'm going to be here in the shop for a few minutes once we end this live. If you want to connect, in fact, you know what? We're only an hour in. We usually go 90 minutes or an hour and a half. Dave, email me right now if, and in fact, if you're not, just put it in the comments. If you're comfortable with joining me in this stream right now, and you can do it from a smartphone or from your or your computer if you're set up, I can send you a link that will allow you to jump in this stream and you can tell me, hey, this is what I do when I do what I do, and this is what happens when it happens, and we'll see if we can figure it out. But send me an email at hobowithwood@gmail.com, and I can reply to you with a link, or just put down at the bottom of the comments, here's, I don't want to be on the live stream. And then you can email me just that, and we can connect out of the live stream and figure it out. Let's see. Uh, Going downstairs with bifocals takes practice. Yeah, I can imagine that could be problematic there. Part of the reason for the delay is that we keep getting them to add stuff to Milmage. Well, they're constantly adding to Lightburn too. So if it works, hey, I'm all about understanding. And like I said, I've got a version of it, but I don't know. Uh, I haven't bothered bringing everything out and starting. I don't want to go down a path. If that version I have is just filled with bugs, I don't want to even bother. But if you've got a good working version, hey, it's going to grow, it's going to expand. But hey, get it out there and let's start supporting it and put it out there. Mark says flipping your line usually get you your text correct. Well, it depends on your line though. Depends on your shape. If it's just a straight line and your text is centered, then it shouldn't be an issue. But if it was like where I had there, where it was not even a perfect curve, but I intentionally had the curve a little bit skewed, if you flip that and create the mirror image of it, then no, it wouldn't work if it was contingent on it working within a certain area. Take the number 2, convert it to a path, and try to apply text. Take the number 2, convert it to a path, and try to apply text to. Oh, okay. Such as happy birthday. Okay. All right. All right. We'll look at that. Let me see. That would replicate the issue. Yep. And then Chris says, and that's another issue too, is if, and this number 2 is going to show this, since what I did just then was a straight line, and or it was not a shape, it was just a line with beginning and end point. But with a shape, the number 2 will convert it to a path. Depending on where your origin node is going to affect where your text is going to be. Flipped test can be caused by a start point online. Flip text, yeah. All right, so Dave says he sent the file. All right, well, let's see. Let me go over here, and go to here. Dave Fisher. Okay. Oh, several of you have sent some emails since we started this live stream. Let's see here. Go away. Don't need that. What have we got here? Oh, well, ain't that purty? Let's show y'all this. So this is from Mark. These are his epoxy inlays. That's pretty slick. That one's backwards, but those are epoxy filled inlays that Mark Patterson has done. I like that stained glass look. That's really cool. Excellent work there, sir. Excellent work. Excellent work. All right. Dave Fisher. Download. Go over to wrong button, stupid. Go away. Oh. See there. Settings, camera. No. Mute. Start cam. All right, there's that. Mic. I may have, let's see here. Audio, mic check. Yeah, you can still hear me, but I've lost. There we go. And now let's see if I can get that. I clicked on the wrong button. Thought I lost everything there. Way to go, dum-dum. All right. So he sent me that file. Let's import that. Delete that. Import elephant for Hobo. About the import vector from the Lightburn project. Let's see. This will lose cut settings and import only the shapes. Do you want to open? Yes, open. No, I don't want to switch. All right. Thank you for being in my circle. All right. So you've got it there. All right. So I've got your you got your file in here. Looking for the comments. You have lost me. Can you explain more? I don't know where I lost you because I lost myself there for a minute. The hat kind of says no, but good Hobo replay is the best on the weekends. I don't know what I'm saying no to, Beauty. I missed something somewhere. All right, back to this. Where is your problem? Where, because this looks like that as far as I can see. Thank you for being in my circle. Thank you for being. Where is your problem? I am confused. And again, this is why I like to have conversation, because I don't understand. That looks exactly like you like what you're wanting it to be. So I'm lost. Does anybody else see a problem with that I'm not seeing? And in fact, on this particular, and I don't know where you got your shape for that circle. All right, so I wanted to use the elephant's backside. Oh, did you want to be on the perimeter of the elephant itself? If you didn't want to be, now you couldn't be on the perimeter because, yeah, Dave, that's create a new toolpath. All right. Again, without being able to converse with you, if you're talking about how would you get this text in there, and with this toolpath, you created that toolpath. Instead of bothering with that, I'm going to select your blue, and the fact that's part of that toolpath. I'm going to, in fact, I'm just going to duplicate this, Control D, duplicate it, and then move it over here. Oh, I'm on. Give me my duplicate. Control Z. There we go. So now I've got that duplicate. I've got that. So I've got your original piece here. What I would have done if I needed this text in that position, and I needed to say, okay, well, I've got that. How do I get that text right there? Well, if I knew I wanted my text to go, I would draw a line from here. That's where I want it to start, and I want it to end here. Just draw that straight line, and then use my node editing tool with that line to create the shape that it needs to be in. And if I need to do add nodes or whatever, you should be able to use your handles to create the curve that you need it to be to line that all up. And then text. And here you see that it's on top of that line. Well, you can change it to a line. Well, that's not going to let me change it there, but I can undo. You can change where it aligns to the center of that line or on top of that line. Or you can now just take that. You've got the curve you want. And just bring it down and center up. Come on, grab it. It's the text. Let's grab the line. There we go. Grab the line and move the line into where you want it to be. And you can grab the nodes and move your nodes and move that in and out and change the curvature of it to get it to where you want it to be. Yeah, I don't. Let's see. The reverse or the backbone. So I still never follow. So this is the part of trying to do this. This is why when I'm helping folks, I want to help you. I want to talk to you because I never understood where Stephen was lost. He was lost on something about the text. And he was, about the text, about this or that. I never knew where I lost him, but somewhere I cleared it up. I don't know what point, but we got there. We got caught up. But I don't know if Dave, more than one way I was trying to use the original elephant, not creating. Yeah. Don't use the original piece. Don't use the original piece. It is so much easier to do it with a line because because when you're doing it with the original piece, as Chris was saying, where your origin point is on that original design, that is going to affect where the position of that text is going to be. So don't do that. It is so much easier to create a line and then create the curve because it's so easy to do. Even that you see, I did it with just the two original nodes. But if I needed to, I could have inserted nodes and converted those nodes to curves and created a complex curve. Or there's always another way. I could have, without having to worry about trying to create additional compound curves or complex curves, there's the original outline. Say Control D, duplicate that. And then I'm going to take that duplication and shrink it down just a little bit to about in the middle of that. Or don't even shrink it. Well, shrinking it down was the same thing as doing an offset. But once I've shrunk that down, go into my node editing tool and come right here to there and say B for break and come over here and say right here, this one, B for break. And then use my selector tool and select this part of it and hit the delete button. So there is a new separate line, and go into node editing and say, I want to bring that down just a little bit. And this is here with all the multiple nodes, you've got all these that you're going to have to contend with. And we'll get rid of those two, delete them. Hit, actually, I didn't want to delete that one. Control Z and then hit S for smooth. Smooth that up a little bit. There we go. And so there you would have another curve that would mirror the hump of the elephant because it's just a part of that same line. But you've seen there, that was a little bit more work than it is. It's a whole lot simpler. Just draw a line, bend the curve, make it the shape you want, apply the text to that path. There's always more than one way to do things. Always, always, always. And sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, and sometimes we make it much harder on ourselves than it actually is because we get lost in the weeds. Can you just do a text along the path of the backside and then move it in? You could, if you did it on a duplicate, like there's always another way. The problem with that, though, is if you did your text first and then moved it in, it's also going to change the size of the text. It's going to make things a little bit smaller. Wouldn't necessarily be an adverse thing, but there are more things being affected when you start shrinking in a text and but it would work, I think. Okay. And Mark says select the text to change the alignment as far as middle, top, or bottom. In fact, just to show you that, let's go over here and get rid of that copy I just did. And here we can see the text is on top of that line. And he's saying that, and I've done this, it's just been so long since I've done it. So if I select my text and now I select my align Y or align X, I want to select middle. And now you can see the text is going to run along that middle, and I would not have had to have repositioned my line. If I had my line exactly where I wanted it to begin with. Oh, come on now. There we go. So if that's where the line was at, if you select the text and not the line, then you can change your alignment. So I want it to be on the bottom of the line, or the bottom of the text to be on the line. I want the top of the text to be on the underside of the line. And that will change that placement. Thank you, Mark, for helping me clear that up. Big shout out there. Good looking out, Mark. How would you create a squiggly text? Depends on squiggly. Definition of squiggly: a line with multiple curves, or yeah, because that would be spherical. We wouldn't know it. So squiggly text. Let's see here. Get over here. Node editing. I'm going to hit the letter M for middle, and that's going to put a node in the middle of that line. And now I will come here and just grab that and pull that up, pull this one down. And now that's a squiggly line and text. This is text on a squiggly line, squiggly line. hold my shift button, select my line, right click, apply. There we go. And now there it's aligned to the middle. So if I select the text only and I want it to come over here, then I'm going to come to my X align and I'm going to tell it left. And it's going to shift it to the left side of that squiggly line. Or do I want it on the right side of that squiggly line? Or do we want to put it back in the middle? Is that what you were referring to, Miss Beauty? And wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. I was going to share with you what I've done this week and what I've accomplished, and there wasn't a whole lot of learning going on. Just seeing the jobs and what I've gotten done and what I've learned, but now just helping answer these questions, we're seeing these numbers pop up 4, 5, and 6, and you things that folks are learning here. And this is what I enjoy. I really do enjoy sharing what's in here. Sometimes it's a little dark or twisted, but I like sharing what I've learned in Lightburn. The Cornish language is difficult for me even after 54 years. And let's see. Yeah, and an inward offset, instead of duplicate. Yep, and an inward offset and duplicating it and shrinking it down is the same thing. It's just another way to do it. But you're absolutely right, Ed. An inward offset, and then just you break your nodes apart, and there you got it. And an inward offset is going to be a perfect alignment. Doing text along the path instead of changing the origin does hiring spacebar in front of text. Hitting, I'm guessing. Yeah, hitting is close enough. The R is right beside the T. Doing text along the path instead of changing origin, does hitting spacebar in front of the text, does it move it around? Yes, it will move it. So if I'm here and I don't want this text right now, you see that you got these plus symbols. That tells you that text is locked to this shape. It's locked to that line. And I've got the option of being in the center, the middle, the center, middle, or the right or left side. But if I need it to be moved, then I can just go back to my text or my font there, and I can come right here in front of the T. I'm going to get in front of the T there. And hitting the space bar will move that along the line. That way it's going to move it to the right side. Or if I want to bring it back, it's not going to let me come back any further there because it's aligned to the middle. But if I tell it to go align left, and now I want it to be line left and use my text, get right there in front of that T. And now I can get it just a little bit off of that by increasing the space bar there. So yeah, hitting the space bar can change its position if you don't need it exactly aligned left, center, or right. You can use the spacing to help change its position. So that's an excellent question. O'Grady gets the cardboard cookie of the day. Excellent question. Excellent question. Yes. Thanks, Steve. That solved my problem. Also, you are truly a wonderful person. Oh. Squiggly, drink before writing. Squiggly is so close. In fact, Chicago Bob's close to Squiggy. Lenny and Squiggy, we're in Milwaukee, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Lenny and Squiggy in Milwaukee. All right, let's see here. So Dave says, great, that helped. I'm Awesome. And the benefit of doing, took a minute to get there, but we got there, and being able to do it here in the stream and help folks out. We got all these people, commenting they've learned, so much, and we would have done it in the live stream and might have gotten there just a little bit quicker had we been actually speaking to one another, because as you comment, it's down at the bottom, and I hadn't got there yet. And so I'm looking for a response to my question, and I don't want to go all the way to the bottom because I'll miss some of the stuff people are talking about. Wow, Jim says he's learned 10 new things. Yes, LNS is a good show. It was, in fact, that touches on a little bit of a sore spot for me right now. Not down the street, down the hall. They were in the same apartment building. But that was a good show. And last night was the end of an era, and I hated to see it come to an end. But last night, if for those who aren't aware, those here in the U.S. you're familiar with Blue Blood, and probably even in other parts of the world, the Blue Bloods on CBS, the Reagan family with Tom Selleck. That was a really good show. I was late to the party. I did not watch the first few seasons when it came out initially because I was like, another cop show? How many can we have? You got all the FBIs and the NCISs and all that. So I was like, okay, I just can't do another one. But when I finally did watch it, I was like, wait a minute, I got to back up and watch this. So I went back to Paramount Plus and got caught up and watched everything and fell in love with Blue Bloods. And it's been a long time. In fact, it'd have to go all the way back to X-Files. X-Files was the last TV show that I was waiting for the next episode to come out. I planned my nights around being able to watch X-Files come out and watch it live instead of catch the replays. And back then, there wasn't any replays. You only watch them on reruns. You didn't have streaming way back then. But not since X-Files did I plan my night around being able to watch that show when it came on. And Friday nights at 10 o'clock on CBS to watch Blue Bloods when it came out. That whatever anybody had planned, 10 o'clock, I'm going to be home Friday night watching that. Ran for 12 seasons on CBS. Number one in its time slot, highest ratings, and it did not get canceled. They did not cancel the show. CBS just refused to pick it up for the 13th season. All of the actors wanted to come back. Selleck wanted to come back. Wahlberg wanted to come back. All of them wanted to come back for a 13th season. And even though it was at its pinnacle for its time slot, nothing else was beating it. CBS just elected not to pick it up for a third season, and I think it's because and it was the last show really on CBS that I even cared to watch. They have become so woke that every single show they have on there has got to have anti-family. That concept of the Reagans having their Sunday dinner as a family, as a whole, and trying to keep a nuclear family together was just rubbing CBS the wrong way. It's like, hey, I guess they just didn't want to represent that anymore. They want to represent the opposite of that. So they canceled the show. I hate it. It's so hard to find really good TV that doesn't have some type of agenda. Let's see here. Tirade, sorry. Let's see here. They will release all on yeah, you can see all the episodes still on Paramount Plus, and it's great streaming they've become so woke. I'm about ready to just cancel all of it and be done with it. And yeah, I really enjoyed the X-Files and Fox and Mulder. Yes, I did enjoy, and I do still enjoy watching her when I can. Well, I appreciate you tuning in and hanging out. And I enjoyed. If you knew me in my previous life, you would never, if there was the punch card, if you had the punch card or you had the bingo spot that Steve would be teaching, that no one would ever pick that one. That one would never, no one would have ever guessed that this is where I would be today, even 3 years ago. It was not, it wasn't even in the realm of possibility. This has just been, but I enjoy it. And it's been beneficial for a lot of us, including myself. Yeah. CBS decided to go in another direction. Unfortunately, it was off a cliff. Yeah, it's planning around your live streams is what we do. And it's yeah, the new network is Woke TV. We have had shows canceled here and then picked up by another network. Yeah, that happens here occasionally. Let's see. I have not watched that yet, and it's because I'm almost ready to pull the pin and be done with CBS and get rid of Paramount even because that's CBS. Yeah, I liked Barney, and what was his name? Just went mind blank on the and here the whole woke society and what's politically correct and what's offensive and not offensive. What I'm about to say is in no way intended to have any offensive tone to it whatsoever. But I don't even know if this is the correct term to use. The Asian actor, the detective who was of Asian descent. I don't know if it was Japanese, Chinese, whatever. I forget. But his character, his always down and he's never happy about anything. He was always sad sack. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And do you have to pay for a license? I don't pay for any kind of license. I pay for the streaming content, but I'm going to cancel that. There we go. I have a sign on my front door: "Do not enter if you are PC." Yeah, I'm a believer of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If there's hate behind the word, any word can be ugly. And it's the intent that matters and not what is said. So, yeah. And different and what's acceptable from one generation to the next, when you talk, and I'm not an old fart. I've got some old farts in here watching in this stream right now. And in your day, there was nothing offensive about saying this word, but now you say this word and they want to lynch you. There was no hate in what you wanted to say, but if you even say this word, they want to be done with you. They write you off and they want to cancel you, and people have just I can't deal with people in public much anymore. It's not just Aussie humor. It's not just Australian humor. It's Jack So. Yeah, I loved Nick Yamato. There you go. Thanks, Bob. PC's destroyed. Being politically correct. I would, if I want to cancel something, I want to cancel politically correctness. That's what I would love to cancel. If you're so sensitive that hearing this sets you off and you're, oh my God, just don't watch it. Don't, I do not champion the right for you. I love free speech, but I do not champion the right for you to get up and spew hate. And you don't have the right to enforce your beliefs. And I use the word enforce. You cannot require me to believe the way you believe or act the way you believe, because what I said in the beginning of this stream, my reality is not your reality, and your reality is not my reality. And for you to try and enforce your beliefs on me is them's fighting words or attitudes. PC is just wrong. Yep. It's not just PC, it's militant PC. I like it. Politically controlled, not even politically correct. You're right. Okay, guys. So we can rant and rave about the world. Best thing I can say is just, take the hate out of your heart and love thy brother as thyself. And when I say brother, I don't mean blood brother, because them's even harder to love than your neighbor. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Try to be tolerant, and not expect everyone to believe the same things you do. And just because they don't, doesn't make them wrong. All right. Steve's new t-shirt. If you get offended easily, don't talk to me. Yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah. Let's see. Stick together, friends, as all the hobos are from love. Be kind, be nice, and be patient. And that right there, patience is the biggest thing. Just prior to going live, I walked right across the intersection I went to Arby's instead of Bojangles today. And this is one of the deadest restaurants you will ever lay your eyes on. There's never anyone in the restaurant when I go in there. There's no one sitting down to eat. There'll be one or two cars go through the drive-through, but there's no one ever there. And while I was sitting there, one customer walked in, and what he did not have the opportunity to see, because he wasn't in there 30 seconds ago, was the girl who was at the cash register had just left for a 5-minute break. She was going to the ladies' room. So she stepped away, and the girl who was running the drive-through was covering both registers because there's never anyone there. So she left the cash register to drive-through to come over and take this man's order. And when she took the order, when it was time to ring him up and take his cash, she didn't have access to that cash register. So she had to call for the manager to come up to unlock the register for her to take, and you have access to the cash box. Well, in that time, another couple had just happened to walk in right behind that other customer. And because that inconvenience was taking place, they turned around. They wasn't there for 5 seconds. They turned around and walked out because they didn't have the patience to wait. So we can't get any service here. This is just ridiculous. I'm like, wow. They didn't see what had just happened. 30 seconds prior to that, there was no one in the place. And the one woman running that register had walked off. And so be patient, be kind, And if you're in that big of a hurry, then you didn't have time to stop to begin with. When is your next live stream? The next live stream will be Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday at 9 will be next week. The so-called tolerant or the least tolerant out there. Yep. No, that's the old me. Well, I wouldn't do unto you, but God help you if you did unto me. I was vengeful, very vengeful. Now I just don't have time for it. I don't have the energy to be vengeful. I don't have time for it. I just write you off and be done with it. And you guys have seen some of that. I love wearing the hobo with wear t-shirt. Got wood. Now yours doesn't say got wood, does it? Yours hobo with wood. No. No, what does it say? Hobo Nation. Check out my wood. I forgot how we did it. No, I did Hobo Nation Laserologist. Hobo Nation Laserologist. Amen, 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 amen. Live each day as your last, because one day you will be right. Okay, guys. Thank you for tuning in. It was a productive live stream. A lot of things were learned. And I appreciate you hanging out this long. And I'm going to jump off here, go let the dog out, get me a glass of ice because this has now got warm. And I'll probably have a video up, I hope, this week. But if not, I'll be live 9 p.m. next Saturday. So, guys, next Saturday will be the 21st. So, is that right? Is it 21st calendar? Yeah, 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys enjoy your rest of your weekend. Have a great week, and we will see y'all in the next stream. Have a good one.